לירושלים עירך ברחמים תשוב ותשכון בתוכה כאשר דיברת לירושלים עירך ברחמים תשוב ותשכון בתוכה כאשר דיברת ובנה 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 אותה
Judaism is the religion, culture, ethics, and law of the Jewish people. It is one of the first recorded monotheistic religions. Every religion has their own ideas of what they consider to be important festivals and holidays. In Judaism, a Jewish holiday or festival is considered a day or series of days observed by their culture as a holy or secular commemoration of an important event in Jewish history. Similar to rituals marking important events in the life cycle of each Jewish person, festivals and holidays are an important part of the Jewish life. Festivals help to keep the tradition thriving, contribute to a sense of community, remind believers of an important historical events, and make certain regular reflection and celebration of the sacred. Understanding the Jewish calendar is a very important part to understanding the way holidays are set up in Judaism. The Jewish calendar is a lunar calendar, that is, based on the cycles of the moon. The moon completes its cycles of phases every 29 and a half days, therefore creating the months. There are 12 months in the Jewish calendar. That totals to 354 days in a year, being more than 11 days short of the solar year. The Jewish calendar ends up creating problems for the holidays and festivals. To keep the holidays in their correct season, a leap month is added to the calendar at regular intervals. The leap year occurs every 2 to 3 years. The difference between the number of days in the lunar and the solar year also explains why all the festivals shift from year to year. For example, Hanukkah can occur any time between late and early December. There are several different Jewish festivals and holidays. However, some have a greater importance. Shabbat, pronounced Sabbath, is considered a day of rest and rest from labor. The Hebrew word Shabbat comes from the Hebrew word shavat, which literally means to cease. Although Shabbat is almost universally translated as rest or period of rest, versus a more literal translation, which would be ceasing, with the implication of ceasing from work. On Shabbat, candles are lit to signify the climax of God's creation, when His work was complete. Jews celebrate Shabbat, a day of rest, on the 7th day of each week. Shabbat begins on Friday evening and ends on Saturday evening. In many ways, Shabbat has been given the status of being the most important holy day in the Jewish calendar. From Jewish laws, on Shabbat, most of the activities come to a complete stop. It's a day of rest, so that means no work, but rather time to spend with family and friends. Passover is considered a major holiday in the Jewish culture because it's a celebration of freedom commemorating the withdrawal of Israelis. The Torah mandates the 7-week counting of the Omer, beginning on the 2nd day of the Passover and immediately followed by Shabbat. Counting of the days and weeks expresses anticipation and desire for the giving of Torah. During Passover, the Jewish people were freed from their enslavement to Egypt, and then on Shabbat they were given the Torah and became a nation committed to serving God. The name Passover received its holiday name from the Exodus story during the 10th and ultimate plague inflicted on Pharaoh to break his will. God passed over the Israelites and struck down only the Egyptian firstborn. That night, the Pharaoh finally agreed to let the Israelites go, and ever since then, we gather together on that night to commemorate that time. Passover's central meaning is liberation. Passover is considered the holiday of spring. The way the Jewish calendar is set up, it is marked certain holidays to occur in a particular season of the year. Therefore, Passover is called the holiday or liberation and the holiday of spring, not by coincidence, but by the Jewish calendar design. Passover teaches us that Jewish history is also a timeless present, that Passover is not a simple commemoration of an important event in our past, to the 4th of July, or an event in which we participated, in which we continue to participate. We are meant to re-experience the slavery and the redemption that occurred in each day of our lives. It is our own story, not just an ancient story in history, that we retell at Passover. In Judaism, there are holidays that are considered high holidays, also referred to as the high holy days, which is the 10-day period that begins on Rosh Hashanah and ends on Yom Kippur. Since God judges on Rosh Hashanah and sentences on Yom Kippur, those holidays and the days that are between are considered time of reflection. So this 10-day period is referred to the Day of Awe. Sabbath takes place between Rosh Hashanah and ends on Yom Kippur, which then falls in the period of the 10 days. This is known as Shabbat. This specific Sabbath is recognized as an important opportunity for Jews to reflect and repent before Yom Kippur occurs. Rosh Hashanah is in fact one of the most important Jewish holidays. It's commonly referred to as the Jewish New Year. Rosh Hashanah is the start of the civil year in the Hebrew calendar. Rosh Hashanah is considered a day of judgment in which God judges each person individually, according to their deeds, and makes a verdict for the coming year. The holiday is characterized by the special mitzvah of blowing of the Jewish horn for religious purposes. Yom Kippur is also considered one of the most important holidays. Yom Kippur is known as the Day of Atonement. The theme of the holiday is atonement and reconciliation. It describes how sins can be forgiven by God. During temple times, Yom Kippur was the day of elaborate cultic rituals to effect atonement of people. It's said that on this day, God's special name was pronounced by the high priest before the assembled masses in the temple courtyards. Yom Kippur has continued to be a day of atonement. However, the setting has changed from temple to synagogue, where people spend almost the whole day in prayer. Yom Kippur is a complete Sabbath. No work can be performed on Yom Kippur. The idea is that you are supposed to refrain from eating and drinking, even water. It is considered to be a complete 25-hour fast beginning on sunset on the evening before Yom Kippur and ending after nightfall on the day of Yom Kippur. Additional restrictions that are less known on Yom Kippur are washing and bathing and restraining from using cosmetics, deodorant, and wearing leather shoes and engaging in sexual relations are all completely prohibited on Yom Kippur. During Yom Kippur, the importance of the synagogue can be really understood by even the people that do not attend services at the synagogue. The synagogue is an equivalent, more or less, to a church. The synagogue serves as a place of prayer, education, study of Judaism, social events, festival, and charity work. During a lot of holidays, the synagogue refills with people that are attending services. Yom Kippur is a holiday where people spend most of the time at the synagogue. The Yom Kippur Prayer service has many unique aspects. It's a 5-prayer service. Another aspect of Yom Kippur services is it includes public confession of sins and a reenactment of Yom Kippur of the Kohen Gadol. in the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. Many people are aware of the holiday Hanukkah. However, most people have the idea that it's one of the more important holidays in Judaism. Although it's very important and well known universally, it's not as important as the previous holidays and festivals discussed in this presentation. One of the main reasons it's become so popular is in fact that it falls around the